In the previous episode of Encounter Israel, we talked about the spiritual condition of the Jewish people as described in the New Testament. We saw that both Paul and Jesus quote a passage from the prophet Isaiah, chapter 6. Isaiah had the vision of the Lord and His glory, and then heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And Isaiah said, "Here am I, send me." Then he was entrusted with the following difficult message. Go and tell this people, be ever hearing but never understanding, be ever seeing but never perceiving. Make the heart of this people calloused, make their ears dull and close their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, hear with their ears, understand with their hearts, and turn and be healed. Note the first reaction of the prophet. He asks, for how long? Unlike the early church fathers who claimed that God was finished with His people, Isaiah understood the message of punishment, but assumed that God would not punish Israel forever. He knew that God is faithful, and concluded that it was only a matter of time when God would turn His face towards His people again. And God answered him and clearly indicated that Isaiah was right in his assumption. Israel will suffer, but not forever. And he used the word until, which means that there will be an end to that period of punishment. Interestingly, there are several scriptures related to the restoration of Israel which contain this little word until. Compare with Romans 11:25. Israel has experienced a hardening in part until. Or Luke 21:24. Jerusalem will be trampled on by the Gentiles until. Or Jesus in Matthew 23. Look, your house is left to you desolate, for I tell you, you will not see me again until. All these scriptures point to the fact that the day will come when Israel's spiritual condition will change. Therefore, we do not have to fear to admit that hardening has come upon Israel. It is not anti-Semitic. On the contrary, taken in context, it is part of the greatest prophecies of restoration. And we can learn something more, an important principle from Isaiah. Before he could handle the subject, an angel had flown to him, a live coal in his hand, and touched his lips. He cleansed them. What's the difference between legitimate criticism of Israel and anti-Semitism? Our lips must be cleansed. Otherwise, we might incur God's wrath. Prophet Zechariah reveals God's attitude towards those who seemingly agree with His judgment over Israel, but in reality, by their criticism, they reveal the evil intent of their hearts. God says in Zechariah 1, I am zealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with great zeal. I am exceedingly angry with the nations at ease. For I was a little angry, and they helped, but with evil intent. Let us therefore examine our hearts before judging the Jews. In the next episode of Encounter Israel, we will look at the answer God gave Isaiah.